Hello there again. One thing that child-centered play therapy encourages parents to do with their kids to help establish, that positive relationship and really build that connection is through something that they refer to as like special playtime. And what this is playtime with your child that is set aside, and it is intentional time. It is like scheduled out for one-on-one playtime with you and your child. During this playtime, this is not a time for you to, be like the person in charge. You're not directing your child's play. You're not telling them how to play and what to play and correcting them and things like that. So during this special playtime, um, they're in charge. They get to have that power and that control, and they get to decide. It's up to them to choose how to play and what to play. And this can be a really cool time also for those of you who are, new to this and you're trying to try out some of these new skills that I've been talking about. This would be a really great time to experiment with that and try some of these out. So, like I said, this is a specific set aside time, and ideally you'd be able to do this once a week. I know there are some parents out there that's just not possible. I would say, if you shoot for once a week, and just do the best that you can. What I love about this is that, this special playtime doesn't cost any money. This is us providing kiddos our presence and our connection, our undivided attention. Because generally, most kids are attention seeking, right? And a lot of the times they get attention when they're doing things that they shouldn't be doing, right? And then unfortunately that reinforces kind of those unwanted behaviors, because when they're jumping on our couch or hitting, their brother or sister or screaming at the top of our lungs, that's when we get down to their level and we look them in the eye and we say, why are you doing that? Stop that, or, whatever it is that we say. But they get our undivided attention by acting out and being bad, right? And so when we stop, and that's the time when we give them our attention, unfortunately, that reinforces them to continue to do that, because that's how they know, oh, well, mom will stop what she's doing and come and give attention to me if I do that, right? And so this kind of focuses on the positive, right? This is some time that we're going to set aside, and you're going to have my undivided attention. I'm not going to be doing bills. I'm not going to be, playing a game on my phone. I'm not going to be watching TV. I'm not going to be on the phone with grandma. This is my time to spend with you. And you get to decide how we play and what we play and how you want me to be a part of it, right? And so, this isn't a time for you to like just be quiet and watch. You're there and your child will let you know what they need, right? And so we don't want to go in and say, let's play puzzles or let's play with the dollhouse, let's do Play-Doh. We kind of let them decide. We return that responsibility, right? During our special playtime, you get to decide what we play and how we play. Well, Mom, what do you want to do? Oh, I see. You want to know what it is that I want to do. But during this time, it's time for you to choose. You get to decide how we play. And so really, put that choice on them, return that responsibility to them. And, this can be a really fun time to get to know your child, for their personality to come out. And really a cool thing about play, and something I've learned as a play therapist, is that, play is a child's first language. And Gary Landreth says in his book that play is the language and toys are the child's words. And so it's really cool to observe how kids play, what they play, the words that they use, the themes that come out. And, not that you have to be like a licensed therapist or whatever to see this stuff happening through play. I don't know, I just encourage you to pay attention to the words that kids are using, the themes that kind of pop up, or the different types of play that are recurring. And that can maybe give you some insight into what it is they're trying to work through. So kids use play as a way to make sense of the world around them. They're not miniature adults. Sometimes adults in their lives expect them to be miniature adults, but it's important for us to remember that these kids are learning and they're at different places developmentally. They're not at an adult's level developmentally. So, us expecting them to act and behave and follow rules and do all these things might not be developmentally appropriate. And so it's important for us, and I'll go into that in another video, just, generally about development, and why it's important to know where your kid is at developmentally, so that your expectations are appropriate for where they are. But kind of went off on a tangent. Don't remember what I was talking about before that. Um, but oh, you can start to notice and see different themes, different things that kids might be working through. So kiddos who might have spent some time in a hospital, or maybe they have a loved one who's been in the hospital. Gosh, we've had COVID going on, and unfortunately, there have been people who've been sick and in the hospital and all of that. And so, if that's something that has happened to one of your family members, you might see a kiddo playing doctor a lot, or if they've had their own, situations where they've been in the hospital. Maybe they just went to the dentist, so now they want to play dentist, right? So it's fun to notice these things like, oh, they're doing that probably because such and such just happened. Oh, like I just had a new baby, so now all of a sudden, my kiddo is playing baby a lot and taking care of baby and changing diaper and, trying to soothe baby and things like that. And so I don't know, it's really fun. But also something that you'll notice too is the words that we say to our kids will come out in play, and they use those words. They'll use those words with their siblings. They'll use them with their friends. They'll use them with their dolls. So I don't know. It's just really interesting to watch, and you kind of can learn. Gosh, what is my child trying to make sense of right now? And so anyways, it's really interesting to watch the process of kids playing because, again, that's their first language. Before kiddos can talk, they play, right? Whether it's peekaboo, whether it's, just playing with their toes. Yeah. And it doesn't matter what a child's native language is, kids know how to play. When I was in graduate school, we did a project where we were working with refugee families, and it was awesome because my son, gosh, he would have been probably 2, maybe. Um, and anyways, we would go to their home and we would kind of help them, apply for jobs or get them situated, figure out what it is they need and how we could help. But the family that I was working with also had young kids, and so my son would come with me, and we got to know the family and whatnot, and the kids would play, but the family didn't speak English, and so it was pretty difficult, just that language barrier in helping the family. But the kids would go out to the playground, they would play, and they didn't care that, my son didn't speak well yet either at the age that he was. He was just learning how to talk. But this other kid, spoke a totally different language, wouldn't know English anyways if my son were talking to him. But just to watch them interact and play, like that's the first language that they learn. And so I don't know, it's just really fun. And which is why I'm really quite passionate about using play with kids, and helping them kind of work through their stuff or make sense of their stuff. And, but yeah, so special playtime, you can learn all sorts of things about your kid. It's pretty fascinating stuff. But again, during this time, notice how your kid is feeling and reflect on that. Oh, that's so frustrating when our toys break. They're building a tower, whatever falls down. Oh man, you worked so hard on that. How frustrating for it to fall. Um, so reflecting those feelings, notice what's happening and comment on that. Oh, it's really important that everybody in the family stay in the house. We don't want anybody outside of the house. Um, Oh, yeah, you take such good care of your baby. It's important that you're here for baby to take care of her. Whatever it may be, things that you're noticing and just reflecting on that so that your child feels like you're seeing them, you're hearing them, you're understanding them. Um, and, returning responsibility. Mommy, what should we play? I don't know. And here you get to decide. During our special play time, it's time for you to decide how or what you want to play. Um, Gosh, giving choices if necessary, setting limits. Gosh, they get to decide how to play, right? But it's never okay to hurt people, and it's never okay to destroy property and things like that. So if you need to set limits, again, acknowledge their feeling and the urge that they have, what their wants and needs are. You know, oh, Quinn, I can see that you are frustrated that your tower fell, but it is not okay for us to throw blocks at the wall. The wall is not for throwing blocks at. But you can take the block and throw it in your bucket or whatever. You target that alternative um, for them to get that urge out. What can they throw? You can't throw the block, but you could crumple up this piece of paper and throw the paper at the wall, whatever it may be, right? So again, with the limit setting, you acknowledge their feelings, you communicate the limit, and then you target an alternative so they don't have to hold that feeling or that urge in. They somehow, in an appropriate way, can get that out so they don't have to hold on to it. So practice that in the special playtime. Using encouragement versus praise. Maybe she wants to paint a picture or he wants to paint a picture. And it's like, wow, you are so focused on your picture. You are working so hard. Mommy, do you like my picture? Oh, you worked hard on your picture. You want to make sure that I like it. It's important to you that I think, that your picture is beautiful or whatever it is, right? So reflecting that back, returning responsibility, um, setting limits as needed, encouraging versus saying, wow, that's such a beautiful picture. Oh, you worked so hard on that. Um, Gosh, what else have we covered? Yeah, just, use that as a time to really practice those skills. And even if you're only able to do it, every 2 weeks or, on the last Friday of the month or whatever it is, your children will look forward to this time together with you. It will be a big deal. They will look forward to it. So it's important that we honor that time and we try to not reschedule it or postpone it or whatever. But, really making sure our children know that it's important that we spend time with them, um, that we want them to be creative and playful and fun, and we can do that with them, right? So, a lot of times parents feel silly joining in play with their kids, and um, they're like, oh, I'm like 36 years old, and why am I, jumping around doing ballerina moves with my child who's 3, right? But it's important for us to be playful and creative. And yes, it's going to foster a stronger relationship with you and your child, but it also is going to kind of spark that childlike creativity, playfulness within you as well. We're all just a bunch of big kids, and we all have different ways that we play. As an adult, it looks different than it does as a kid, you know. Um, but I encourage you to find those things in yourself too. Give yourself permission to be silly and ridiculous. Your kids don't care. They're not going to go, they're not going to film you and put it on YouTube for all the whole world to see. They could care less how ridiculous you look. In fact, the more ridiculous you are, probably the more fun they will have. Um, so I encourage you to not judge yourself and really just dive right in and, see how much fun you can have with your kids. Again, these are the things that our children are going to remember decades down the road. When we are long gone, they're going to look back and say, oh, one of my favorite things with my mom or my dad or my grandma or whoever was this special playtime that we had where my mom, set aside 30 minutes and we did it every Friday at 4 o'clock. And we just played, and my mom got silly with me, and she let me decide what to play. And, these are going to be the things that they look back on fondly and remember us by. And so I give you permission. So I hope that you give yourself permission to really dive in with them, be silly, be crazy, dance like a ballerina, bark like a dog, whatever it is, that your kiddos want you to do in their creative time and their playful special time with you. It will amaze you the way it can build your relationship, but also will fascinate you, the things that you see in their play. Like I said, the recurring words that come up, the recurring types of play. Um, and the cool thing though is too, if you see something that is recurring on and on and on, um, that shows that that's something that's important to that kiddo. That's something that they're working through and they're trying to process and make sense of through their play. Um, and then one day they'll be done. And you're like, wonder why they don't do that anymore. Well, that's because they've worked through it, they've processed it, and it's not something that they are working through anymore. They have kind of made their way through it through their play, and they're kind of done now. They've moved on. And so, it's important that we let them figure out what it is that they need to do to work through that and process that. Because play, I tell you what, is a healing thing, not just for kids, but for adults too. Um, and so play with your kids. Play, play, play. I know things are busy in our world right now, and a lot of parents, whether you're single parents or whether you are in a home where both parents are working, stuff gets busy. And, sometimes when we get home, it's just easy to let our kids watch TV or play games and stuff. And it's like, oh, the last thing I want to do now is exert energy into playing make believe and whatever with my kids. Can't they just come up and snuggle me and let's just watch a movie and be lazy and kind of veg out because I'm tired? I had a long day, right? But I tell you what, like it will do wonders for your relationship with your kid and just with you in general too. So, special playtime if you can, 30 minutes a week or however often you can. Um, get in there and play with your kids. It will be a game changer for sure.